what it means to me.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Are we recording? It is recording.
Yeah, it's recording.
So, I mean, what should be if I went somebody,
that
should do a thing. That should stop you. That should bring in the new, shouldn't it? Into your head?
Yeah.
But the question is, will it?
Is there anybody out there?
Yeah, that's just taking all Queen away.
Actually, do you know, my earworm at the moment is Forever in Blue Jeans, Neil Diamond.
Oh, okay.
I just cannot get it out of my head.
Powerful.
Money talks, but it don't dance and it don't walk. Something like that anyway. Baby, tonight by the fire, all alone. Something like that. Love of my life,
that's the
don't
wrong
leave
album.
me.
It didn't work. And now, the final curtain.
This is the last Queen one, isn't it? Is that why you're singing that?
No, I don't know. That's just what came into my head instead of anything on this album. Day at the Races. Yeah, so Tie Your Mother Down, You Take My Breath Away, Long Away, Millionaire Waltz, You and I, Somebody to Love, White Man, Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, Drowse, and Torriatte, Let Us Cling Together. We had to delay this by a week, so I'm literally going home, editing and uploading overnight, which is a bit of a disaster because it takes me ages to upload at home. It takes about 12 hours. And at work, at 7:30 in the morning, that's where I'm uploading all my stuff. Shh, don't tell anyone. It takes about 3 minutes. But yeah, we had to do that because Sam had a cold. So I thought, well, we've been off for a few weeks. There's no point coming back. But the other thing was because I'd not listened to it, and I looked at the track list and I realised I only know 2 songs. They're big songs, but I only know 2 of them. So, you know. And this is the thing. From this point on, this is the Queen thing. You know, really famous songs, couple of the really famous songs, and some meh. The other stuff is good, but they're no longer an album band. The other songs are too big. You know, Queen's biggest selling album in the UK. It is the biggest selling album in the UK. Is Greatest Hits. Queen Greatest Hits. It doesn't get included in lists because it's a compilation, but that's actually what it is. You know, and you think, how well do Pink Floyd compilations sell? I'm sure they sell all right, but not as well as the albums. You know, Dark Side of the Moon will still sell more than Works. Is it Works? That's strange. Queen have got an album called Works as well. Because that's what it's about, really. It's about the famous, catchy songs, you know. It is the sister album of the other one, and it is more consistent, actually, than Night at the Opera, but that's not necessarily a good thing, in a sense. Although it was a slow change over time, just like Genesis, you know. This is the transition album, really. You know, it means it's very meh, unfortunately. If someone wants Queen albums, I like Queen, I saw them on the telly, and they don't want greatest hits, they should probably get Night at the Opera and this one. For me, meh. Somebody's Love is good. Put on Queen 2 instead. That's what you should do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to pin it down, isn't it? I mean, it's recorded quite well.
Production is fantastic.
Yeah. His voice is as good as it ever's going to be. They're all pretty accomplished at this point. And yet it's completely bland. I think what it is there's a sort of thing going on with A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races. It's almost sort of like, I don't know if this is what they've decided to do, but there's a sort of like Gilbert and Sullivan sensibility to it.
Oh, there is, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And so it's like Gilbert and Sullivan do rock. That's what they want to do.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly that. Yeah.
And the problem with that is, I mean,
you can do it once, but you've done it.
Yeah, you've done it once. And Gilbert and Sullivan, I mean, actually, they're crap. You know, it's I can't say it any more than that. As a concept, I mean, so the way I look at it, you know, I mean, if you take The Matrix, the film The Matrix, The Matrix is an awesome film. The first time you watch it, it's like blown away. All these mega deep concepts going on. What is reality, and all that kind of thing. And you kind of think that the scope there, they could expand this so much, and then Matrix 2 comes along, and a lot of people are disappointed.
Yes,
because when you actually start teasing those ideas apart, they're not
just really tedious and boring.
Well, it's not a popular sensibility, is it? It's a sort of, it's a very detailed, interesting. I actually like Matrix 2 and 3.
Okay, yeah, I don't.
I especially like the stuff with Agent Smith and the sort of the yin yang thing going on between him and Neo.
Yeah, which is actually a very Queen thing.
Yeah, which is cool. So I mean, you would think, well, maybe this is a footnote to A Night at the Opera, but actually it's an expansion on themes, sort of exemplified by the Millionaire Waltz. Sort of Gilbert and Sullivan does rock, which is actually, when you expand on it, is really boring. I mean, it's a nice bit of decoration for A Night at the Opera.
You could do one song, couldn't you? That's done now.
But when you do 2 albums, it's just like, what the? Oh, okay, no. This has no relevance to my life. Yeah? Why am I listening to this?
Really boring. Yeah. Boring.
And then you get songs like Long Away, which, is
that track? Which one's that?
That's track 3.
Oh, track 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about track 3 in a minute.
It's sort of like as emotionally engaging as Silence, without the respite for the ears. It's sort of like, I mean, if I was to compare it to a food, it's kind of like popcorn without any flavouring, or
plain popcorn. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Earl Grey tea before Picard made it cool. It's sort of. It's nothing. There's nothing going on, and it boils the whole album for me boils down to 2 tracks, which come together. So it's a lot of faff to go through, and when you analyse song by song, actually, I mean, I've done like 2 of the worst ones, Long Way and Millionaire Waltz. Actually, Tie Your Mother Down, it's not that bad a track,
I think it's great.
You listen to it in isolation, you think that's a good track.
Yeah.
But then you compare it to Death on Two Legs.
Yeah, it doesn't compare.
And it's just not. It's not.
Not there.
It's just nearly, but not quite good enough. To make it, stand out or stand up with A Night at the Opera. They shouldn't have bothered, basically, and they did, which is a shame.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on the album.
That's almost the problem with a band. When a band is famous and they've done their thing, but they have to carry on because they're making millions of pounds. So just make more albums of the same. So they've either got to change, and it's never going to be as good, or just make more albums of the same. What do you do? What do you do? Don't know. More songs. But yeah, I think Tie Your Mother Down is a great opener, and it's really you think, this is great. It's got a cool intro. Written in 1968, actually, interestingly, because it's strange. It's very, very 70s. And then there's proggy stuff on. You Take My Breath Away. It's actually really proggy. Modally, there's some interesting stuff going on there. And as it's the first half of the song, this is good. You get about 3/4 of the way through, and it's like, okay, that's that then. It's kind of, and then of course the next track is Long Away, and that, rather than I was saying some of the other stuff reminded me of ELO. It reminds me of sort of 1990 Tom Petty. What do you say about 1990 Tom Petty? The production is very good. That's literally all you can say about Long Way. There's nothing there, nothing. Boring songs. Most of the songs on there, you can sing along the word boring to. Drowse makes me drowsy. Somebody's Love is fantastic.
Yeah.
And that towers above the rest of it, actually. To be honest, there's nothing else on there that comes close. Different producer. They have a different producer. Isn't that interesting? And they've got such a distinctive sound. But really, they're very sort of self-producing. I wonder how much the producer actually did.
Yeah.
And really, is it the engineering It's the band doing their thing. It's engineering. It's Mike Stone is the consistent engineer. He even sings, so he's pretty much a band member. You know, if he's actually singing on there somewhere. That's cool. Second album named after a Marx brother. A Marx Brother movie? Marx Brothers. A movie by the Marx Brothers. And they wanted to do that with the next album as well. I think they wanted to call it Duck Soup. And Groucho Marx sent them a telegram saying he's going to call his next album The Greatest Hits of the Rolling Stones. So they've obviously thought, what? Why? That's okay, you did it. But why you can call all your albums after Marx Brothers movies? Why? Random. They should have followed suit. They should have called their next album The Greatest Hits of the Rolling Stones. That would have been fantastic. Let's do some defence of them in a way now. Let's do what the media were saying. Okay. With the day at the races, they deserted art rock entirely. They're silly now, and wondrously shameless. Which is true. It is. They are silly. Queen is supposed to be silly, but then isn't prog silly? It is really, isn't it? It's just going in a slightly different direction of silliness. Okay, but Dave Marsh, okay, from Rolling Stone, if you're wondering where this is going to go, he says Freddie Mercury has a passable pop voice.
Oh, Jesus.
Well done, Rolling Stone, again. You've done it there.
That age well.
The fail. I think it didn't... Was it Rolling Stone said something about Dark Side of the Moon being nothing, boring, no one's going to buy this. And he found Queen to be the least experimental of eclectic contemporary rock groups and accused them of having brazen commercial aspirations. You know, and 6 months later, the same guy will be saying there's no such thing as experimentation, and there is only commercial. You know, idiots, fools. So that's where they were. You know, this is 1977, 6, 7. So the media kind of hated them already, briefly liked them. And I think we're still in that phase where they still like them pretty much, and then hated them again. Arbitrarily, it means nothing. It just means nothing, you know. But, you know, I mean, there's a song on here called White Man. It's about the plight of the Native Americans.
Do you know what? That was the one. People use the term Led Zeppelin with Queen.
Yeah.
When I listened to that, I thought, actually, I wouldn't mind to hear Led Zeppelin's rendition of this.
Oh, it's got a heavy riff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's more.
You know, like there's a powerful drum bit. You know.
Yeah. But it did remind me a lot of. Have you seen the new David Brent movie?
Yeah.
There's a bit when he watches a documentary about Native Americans and then writes a song about it. It's really embarrassing, and his sidekick guy, who's actually also a singer, tries to get him to dress up in the thing and go oh that stuff, and it's brilliant, and it's exactly like that song. And that's the thing, is the Queen are deliberately ridiculous, but they are ridiculous. They're ridiculous. You know, there's a lot of Spinal Tap in Queen because of their deliberate ridiculousness. It was this tour where they were supposed to go on Bill Grundy, and Freddie Mercury had a dentist appointment, not convinced at all, something. So they had to get the Sex Pistols on instead.
Flipping out, that dentist needed... he had an easy job. He didn't do a lot. I would think it's something drug related or something like that, and you wouldn't want to spin that as you know, the Queen are doing something crazy and too cool for TV, so they got the Sex Pistols on. They wouldn't present it like that. It'd have to be presented as Queen are ridiculous. Now the cool people are coming on the TV. You know, have you seen the? You must have seen it. It's Kevin Eldon did a recreation of the interview, but all as and he did the whole thing, the whole interview, exactly the same. Yeah, they were Amish. And he basically did the entire interview, recreated shot for shot, move for move, but the Sex Pistols are all Amish. Yeah, good night, Bill Grundy. That's the end of you. I mean, that was a crap interview, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was actually just a crap interview. It was just go on, say something else then, go on. So that was Bill Grundy's fault. And they were just whisked in there at the last minute, and they were just like, what? What do you want? So it was just perfect, you know. But it isn't like the Sex Pistols were so cool, they're so rebellious. It wasn't that at all, really, was it? It was.
I mean, the suggestion of maybe I can meet you later or something like that.
I know.
That is really.
It's really, and you know, Bill Grundy. He would be a gammon now, wouldn't he? Because you can't say that. And I'm sure, maybe there's, if you look back in the archives, maybe he's always like that. And she looks really horrified. But that's not what anyone talks about. People talk about, he swore, and there was some a man smashed his TV in disgust or something.
Well, he's an idiot as well then.
Well, yeah.
I'm really angry about something someone else did, so I'm going to smash my telly.
Yeah, in the meantime, Queen are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and selling more and more, playing everywhere in the world. They played South America a few years later, you know, which not many people did at that point.
Well, that's why they hated Queen then, because they weren't punk. For some reason, the media fell in love with punk, and they still love punk.
Yes, because it was their music. It was this is something we made. This is ours. This isn't you people being successful and not talking to us. How dare you?
I mean, who's, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, the Sex Pistols themselves, of course, they got on really well with. The is it News? I think it's the recording News of the World. They were recording Nevermind the Bollocks at the same time. Is it News of the World? Yeah, it must be News of the World. It has to be, doesn't it? And I mean, you know, they met John Lydon in the corridor and all that, and they got on very well with him because they're just bands making albums. That's it, you know. So they got on very well because they're both bands making albums. But Sid Vicious, of course, who probably didn't really play on the album at all. The suggestion is that Steve Jones played on the album and the guitar, and that's why it's so tight. Because Sid Vicious couldn't really play at all, apparently. He kind of really was a moron, you know. And he did actually walk into the studio and said, "Did you succeed in bringing ballet to the masses?" As if that was a big zinger on Queen. As
a master of invective.
So, did you think he was taking the piss, and that Freddie Mercury really wanted to popularise ballet, and he hasn't? I win. Oh, what did he mean? I don't know. And famously, well, in fact, it's great because there's so many different stories about the encounter, and Freddie Mercury says something like, "Aren't you Steve Savage or something?" And every time you read the story, it's a different name. No one knows what he actually said. And there's all sorts of stories about like Johnny Rotten crawling into the studio on all fours, sneaking in. It's stuff like there's all sorts of stuff that probably didn't happen. It's very strange. Oh, that's the end of my notes.
Well, I suppose we should egg it then, really.
We should egg it. I'm only going to do 3 eggs.
Yeah.
Because it's boring.
It is pretty bland.
You know, you've got Tio Torriatte is a tribute to the Japanese fans, and they used to play it when they went to Japan, kind of thing. And it is actually we've never used this phrase, a torch song. It's one of them. It's very, very typical of what they went on to do, I think. There's nothing else you can say about this album. That's it. That's nothing. We've talked about the Sex Pistols instead. Sorry. Boring album.
And we're not going to review the Sex Pistols.
I assume Queen fans would disagree. This has got to be a major one, doesn't it? Must be. It's Day at the Races. I mean, it's right in the middle of it, isn't it? I would assume Queen fans would see a main sequence of like probably the first album to News of the World or Jazz, I think. Maybe even a bit further. I don't know. Let us know, Queen fans, because that's into Queen. I mean, it's just never clicked with me. I don't really know why. You know, I really like lots of it and stuff, but it's not. It was never been. I must get all their albums, which is weird. I've never figured out why.
Yeah, strange. Right then.
Thank you very much. We're back next week with our Christmas special,
dun, dun, dun.
which is also our part 1 of I don't know, 8 or something of our 2,000 subscriber celebrations. Woo-hoo! Thank you very much. Yes. That's going to take a few weeks, obviously. It might be worth requesting our patrons if they want to make some suggestions, because we're a bit dry of ideas, I think. I'm not sure what we'll do after that. So please recommend the proper things, not the wrong things. I don't know. Recommend things we want to review. Only those. Thanks.